Guys, so this is an impromptu sort of a session based on the questions that you had. See, I have no doubts that you guys are all prepared really, really well. And in fact, I know for sure that many of you are really, really well prepared, right? For your UPSC prelims exam. Now, see, preparation is one aspect which is primarily based on knowledge. But apart from knowledge, I also want to talk about certain other aspects, which is before we go into the exam hall, let us try to understand, um, you know, um, the pattern of the exam, what is still important, what are the things that you should keep in mind during the exam, how many should you attempt. There are many other sort of profound insights that we can get if we can just sort of analyze some of the data points. And hopefully in this particular session, in a very quick session, I'll take a little bit of your time and then talk about those aspects. Okay, so without any delay, let's get into this. See, first of all, before you go into the exam hall, it is very, very important that we understand that while this exam, which is UPSC Prelims exam, right? UPSC Prelims 2021, 2020, 2019, and 2022 are going to be based on paper one and paper two. Paper one is going to have approximately how many questions, right? 100 questions it is going to have, each of them with 2 marks, right? And the negatives, of course, right? 1/3 is going to go in the negatives as well. Now, if you notice, within 100, right, the selection criteria is going to be, this year we have 1,000 plus seats, so we are going to have approximately around 10,000 plus students who are going to be selected in the next round, or 5,000 plus students in general category, and then around 10,000 students are going to go to the second round. Now, it is very important to understand that we don't have to solve all the 200 marks, right? You don't have to solve all the 100 questions. You don't even have to be prepared for the 100 questions. What do I mean by that, and why is it necessarily important? We have, let's say, last few days. Okay, and last few days generally for a lot of people are a lot more productive than especially when you get closer to the exam, you become a lot more productive. So we still have a few days, and those days can be made to count a lot more. Now you take a look at this. If you look at the UPSC prelims cutoff for the last 5 years, right, you analyze this thing: 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, and 2016. I have not included 2021 here, primarily for the reason that we don't have official data, right? So you, until UPSC sort of releases it, I don't want to speculate on that. But because many of you have written that exam, and you want to see how exactly the selection would have happened in the previous year, the speculation was that it is somewhere between 90 to 95 for the general category students. Okay, but again, I don't want to speculate too much on it. I'm not going to use that for much of our analysis either. Okay, because you're going to take data that is directly from UPSC. Now take a look at this. If you look at 2020, 2019, and even 2018, the cutoff for the general category has only been 98. 98 is essentially 49 questions out of 100. Only 49 out of 100. So literally, it is less than half, right? The year before that was 105, relatively easier paper, and 2016 is 116. It could be probably because the paper is slightly easier, or because the number of seats are kind of high. But if you look at these three, and I hope that you are able to see my screen, right? And also what I'm pointing at, if you can see this 92.51, 98, and 98, right? So the idea here is that we have to focus on the easiest of the 90, 100 sort of questions. So if you can sort of try to get the easiest out of 50%, then might as well do it. No need, and especially in the last minute, no need to go after some of the more difficult sort of questions that anyway UPSC is going to throw at us. And anyway, it is very, very difficult for us to sort of be able to, capture marks there. It is kind of hard, right? So, and we have to understand that. So, but that is not the end of the, it is not required also, right? The same thing to do, the smart thing to do, the wise thing to do is to focus on where can we get the easiest of this 92.51 or the easiest of the 98. Okay, obviously 100, 110 will keep you safe if the paper, okay, is similar to the previous years, the recent years, right? And especially with more number of seats, maybe it can even come down. So we'll talk about this thing. Now, depending upon which criteria that you belong to, right, which category that you belong to, beg your pardon, right, also keep a note of this, right? So if you look at general category, it's 92.51, okay, which is approximately 46%. That's it. Okay, if you look at EWS, and EWS, as you might know, it actually stands for economically weaker sections, right? If you produce that certificate and checking and all that. So in case you belong to EWS, it is basically around 77.55. OBC criteria, OBC category is around 89, SC 74, and 68. So depending upon which one you exactly belong to, just have a perspective here. But as I always say, you do not consider yourself to be any of these, right? You just always go and try to target at least 100 or something. But let us say that you do belong to one of these criteria, one of these categories. Sorry, I'm not sure why I'm saying criteria. If you belong to one of these categories and you're well prepared, maybe if you reach a particular point, you need not take additional risk, right? You don't have to take an additional risk by trying to attempt some more questions just to hit a particular higher score. Okay, so just to keep that in mind. But just with this, you will not understand. Okay, try to analyze this. The score difference, if you can see here, the general minus the EWS. Okay, we don't have enough data points to come out with any sort of real insight, right? In 2019, it was 8. Okay, 2020, it is approximately 15. Now, we don't know exactly what it would have been in 2021 or what it will be in 2022. We don't know the number of people who are sort of applying under EWS. Okay, how strong they are. That it is very difficult to predict. And with 2 years, I don't think we should take any sort of real insight from it. Okay, but of course, it is going to be slightly on the lower end. But if you look at general minus OPC, there is not much of a difference. Can you see this? 3 marks. Okay, 3 point something. That is 1.5 questions. 2.66. Okay, this is basically one question along with the negative. This is half. Okay, again, one question along with the negative. Okay, and 2 questions. Okay, so 1 to 2 questions. So general minus OPC is not much, right? So the sort of additional sort of what do you call the cushion that you get, you would probably get it a lot more in mains and a lot more for the final mains plus interview. But in prelims, it is not much of a cushion at all. When it comes to SC category, which is scheduled castes, and then you have scheduled tribes, here you do notice that there is approximately, what is it, around 18, 16, 14, right? You can probably keep in mind around 7 questions. And if you look at here, see, 2020 was probably an aberration. You have 24, but generally around 14, 17, 20, right? So keep this in mind. So probably you want to think that 10 to 15 is probably the kind of question that you get in ST. So depending upon your preparation levels, if you are somewhere here, it is very difficult for us to predict what happens in 2022 exam in June 5th, right? At the same time, you don't want to be thinking too much about like what exactly will be the cutoff. Okay, I need to be at this particular score, but this is something that will give you an idea that, hey, this is what I need, right? This is what I need. This is where I'm getting. What is the risk to reward sort of ratio that I should be targeting? So keep those things in mind, and when you walk in, at least you have all of this, right? Another thing that I generally notice is that while the cutoff has come down here in 2020 and possibly in 2021 as well, we had a lot of people who actually did have a score that is higher than 92, but there were many who could not clear paper 2 in the afternoon, right? So that could also be another reason why the cutoff has come down. Okay, so 100 I think is okay, and especially for the last couple of years, you probably know the quality of the paper, right? The difficulty level of the paper. Don't expect anything less, but be well prepared, and also keep in mind what has been the recent years patterns. Okay, so it'll give you an insight before you go into that exam hall.